Toolshed is the quintessential brewery startup with humble beginnings and bigger-than-life dreams.
I'm a super nerd.
And let me tell you, that's no joke. When Graham started homebrewing beer out of the Toolshed at his home in Calgary, Alberta, he opened Pandora's box on a backyard hobby that, piece by piece, led to a passion-driven, full-scale commercial craft brewery. It's going to be a challenge to box Toolshed into a concise package, but let's dive in and see what happens. Welcome to the Craft Renaissance Project. My name is Matt, and I've been commercially brewing for over 15 years. While I love making beer as much as the next brewer, it's time to park the gumboots for a bit and share what I think that makes the craft beer world amazing. Join me as we take a deep dive into the craft beer craze boiling up here in Alberta, Canada. Of course, we talk about the beer, the ingredients that go into it, the process, and the community around these breweries who make craft beer a beautiful thing. Let us take you on this journey through the craft beer renaissance, here in the Barley Belt of Canada. The Craft Renaissance Project is presented by DME Process Systems, manufacturers of the gear that brews the beer. Visit dmebrewing.com to learn more about their brew houses, cellar tanks, and accessory equipment trusted by thousands of breweries around the world.
Kind of the birth of Toolshed was, we realized that we had to do this to put Alberta barley on the map. We didn't know at the time that Alberta has the greatest barley on the planet.
It's fun. Most people who drink beer don't realize that they're drinking beer that started in this province.
Right.
Stay tuned to hear more about how Toolshed champions Alberta barley growers. Let's start with Graham's story of Toolshed's origin. At the time of Toolshed's startup, when Graham decided to go bigger than just a backyard hobby in 2012, only a handful of craft breweries existed here because the liquor laws in Alberta were so outdated. Many of these laws were from the Prohibition era, 100 years ago. Since Toolshed came onto the scene, many of these outdated laws have been updated to allow for the flourishing craft beer industry we see today.
Because when we got started, we tried to register to become a brewery, and then found out that what we were trying to do was illegal in the province. So back in 2012, if you might not remember, the laws in this province were you can't even apply to be a brewery in Alberta at the time unless you can show the government that you can brew 500,000 liters.
That's right, there was a liter cap.
To put it in perspective, it would put you in the top 5% of breweries in North America to be able to start.
Yeah.
So no little brewery starts that way. So 2013, we found out from the Alberta Gaming Liquor Commission that they had abolished that brewing minimum requirement. It was an incredible thing to get a tweet that day.
So we'll talk a little bit about the beer now.
Sure.
What was the very first recipe you brought to Toolshed? You're drinking it right now.
This is it, Red Rage. And it's a funny story because at the time, I loved New Belgium and I loved Fat Tire at the time.
Yeah, great
so
beer.
I looked up a clone recipe. How could I brew Fat Tire? That was recipe number 1, which I screwed it entirely up and blew all the hops all over the deck and had all the wrong ingredients. But the beer was so good. I loved it so damn much. So this is our brew log, and every batch of beer I brewed in my backyard tool shed, the day we brewed it, and what we were drinking while we brewed it, it's a pretty neat thing to have.
Okay, so tell us a bit about the ingredients that you use for making Toolshed beer.
Yeah, this is actually my favorite part.
Toolshed makes no compromises on their ingredients. Not only is Graham a firm believer in keeping things local, he's a huge advocate for Alberta's barley. In fact, he has crafted a beer called Prairie Pride, which is the first Albertan beer made with 100% Alberta-grown ingredients.
This beer is 100% barley from their fields. Amber Valley Farm is an hour up the road here, just outside of Innisfail. And so what I love about this project so much is getting to know personally the farmers who are working 30 hours a day out in their fields, trying to do the best work on earth in this industry. And we get to say, this beer has 100% barley from that field. That makes it a really personal story. That's a passion story enough for me that I hold that can with so much freaking pride, knowing what family it benefits that grew the barley.
Do we clarify the beer in any sort of way, or do we filter it, or do we leave it as is?
We don't filter here. Essentially, the beer at Toolshed is a living, beautiful.
So there is yeast in this can.
Yes.
Beautiful.
I remember when we were starting, having big breweries say to me, "Oh, you need sterile filtering and pasteurization," and when I would try those beers, I didn't get the same mouthfeel, the same feeling, that same love in the beer
Yeah.
from when I drank homebrew. And I remember thinking to myself, so you're telling me I have to make the beer taste worse so it sits on the shelf longer. Why don't I make the beer taste better
So it doesn't sit on the shelf.
so it doesn't...
That's how it should be.
So this is it, man. This is the original homebrew system, right? Like,
This is what started Tool Shed.
yeah.
This was the Tool Shed.
This was in my tool shed.
Yeah.
We still use it today. It's our test pilot system,
Yeah.
and we brew it on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But you got to think back to the days when I'm a home brewer. I went on a tour of Big Rock. That's my local brewery.
Yep.
And I remember asking the brewer that was giving us the tour, can I buy some kegs to start my little home brewery?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, we don't sell
We don't sell kegs.
And I remember thinking, well, that sucks. Now I got to steal them.
Yeah.
Because
You liberated them. Yeah.
repurpose them. And even at that time, you never expect that what you're doing in these little kegs is going to turn into
This. Very cool.
right. I truly take tremendous pride in knowing that the best brewing equipment on earth is made right here in Canada.
And we've got some right here to
And-
look
and
at.
here it is. Everything in this place is DME. They're huge partners of ours, and it's just gorgeous, right?
Yeah, it's good looking stainless steel.
Sometimes I come in here and I sit in a chair
Yeah,
and I just
just look
stare
at it.
the stainless.
Yeah. So this is what I call brewery porn.
When we started planning out this brewery, we always said we will only plan for nothing but total success. We're going to be great. We're going to plan for that greatness. So let's build the facility that we can now grow into and achieve that. So that's
Okay.
why we're not 1,500 square feet. We're 15,000 square feet. Our cold room is 1,500 square feet.
Huh.
And for the first 3 years, we didn't even have a chiller on it because we were sold out of beer for the first 3
No
years.
need to store it if it was in and out.
One of the really cool things about Tool Shed is we built the process on a 4-vessel brew house
Right.
layout, which means we're very scalable. We're built to scale
You
this.
can, you
this
can
brewery.
chase brews.
So we're actually incredibly efficient at getting. This is a 25 hectoliter brew house with 100 hectoliter
So you're getting
tanks
4 brews in a day.
in a day.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's go look under
Yeah.
the hood. So
Yeah.
tell us about your silo.
So this is 24 metric tons.
Okay. And how long does that last you?
That'll last 2 to 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. So
Yeah.
every couple months, get another batch of grain in.
That's right. It goes up this flex auger into a weigh scale,
Right.
into a secondary bin that weighs it. It says, great, you've got 500 kilos. It turns off the auger, opens up a knife valve, drops into the mill, heads all the way up, another flex auger all the way around the brewery,
Right to the mash
up
tun.
to the brew house.
Well, let's go check out the mill room.
So instead of the staff having
Yeah.
to like carry these
One of these bags,
right,
yeah.
these big sacks of barley,
Yeah.
now they can just type in how much
much
weight
they
they
need.
need,
Yeah.
and
And in we go.
yeah, in she goes. So it drops into the mill, it gets, and mill is probably the wrong word. As you know, it's actually
Yeah.
a barley crusher. It just
Yes.
cracks open each kernel.
Yeah, yeah. We're not creating flour, although we
Right.
do want some.
Right.
Yeah.
And then up this next flex auger it goes. And part of what we did here in the beginning days at Tool Shed was
Yeah.
we thought about this whole building. How can we get the building to do the work?
Yeah.
So there's no forklifts going back and forth. We want the barley to show up in this door, and the building does the work. It gets brewed, fermented, carbonated, packaged, and now it's at the other door to head out the building. This grist case holds all of the recipe of what we call our grain bill. Once we're ready to brew, we open up that valve, we set our water flow rate, the right temperature, and that's a grist hydrator, and we mash in. So this is like steeping tea.
So, from here, the process is similar from brewery to brewery. Check out our YouTube channel if you want a breakdown of the general process. We're here to talk about what's special about Tool Shed. So let's jump to their locally manufactured in-house packaging system. So when it's sitting in your bright tank,
Yep.
it's ready to be topped up on carbonation.
Correct.
And then after that, it's going into
Into the canning
into the
machine.
cans. All right.
Follow
Well,
me.
we've been drinking them the whole day. Let's see how it's done.
Blank cans come
Yep.
in. They come up through this depalletizer along that conveyor. They come down through the twist rinser. They get washed and
Yep.
sanitized.
And then they get sleeved.
it comes through, it
Get
goes
sleeved.
through the heat
shrink
tunnel.
wrapped.
Yep. And then it picks up a date code stamp, and then it gets filled. And now this is
This is where it all happens.
yeah, this is one of my absolute favorite things in this facility, just because I'm such a bleeding heart for these local businesses that have changed the world for our industry. And Cask Global Canning Solutions is that company. And to think that this is a Calgary, Alberta invention,
Right.
that thousands of breweries across the globe cherish now because they brought craft canning to our industry.
So you got an inline can.
Yep,
Yep.
yeah. These first tubes flush all the oxygen out of the can.
Put a nice CO2 blanket in the can.
CO2 blanket,
Yep.
and of course CO2 being heavier than air,
Right.
it fills that can, stays below that, the lid of that can. Comes into the next 6 tubes. These tubes plunge down and fill the beer from underneath that CO2 buffer.
Right, so you're keeping the oxygen out.
Correct. You got that nice buffer of CO2 being pushed out of the can
Right.
as the beer gets filled.
Beautiful.
Right at the end, it gives a little puff of CO2 foam, so it
Create
creates
that
that little,
foam.
right,
Yep.
a little bit of a blanket, a little
Yep.
security barrier that comes through, picks up a lid, gets pressed on just like that, and into the seamer
Into the
it
seaming
goes.
die, yeah.
And to be fair, and to the credit of Cask, we have like less than 1% lost
Oh, that's fantastic.
due to overfills or underfills.
That's great.
But when there is one, it kicks it out.
Kicks it out.
Yeah, this is cute. This little door just shoots
So
closed.
that saves you having to weigh all the cans as they come
Exactly.
out. on
Like
the
day
other
one,
end.
back in the early days.
Back in the day, yeah, where
Yeah.
you're weighing almost every can to
Well,
make sure.
you go through these periods where at the beginning you're weighing them and you're putting
Yeah.
all these ones off to the side, and then periodically you keep weighing them.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
You can only see if things are going wrong based on grabbing a bunch of cans and weighing them
Weighing
again.
them, yeah.
Now
Whereas
the
this will
machine
do it for you.
does it for you. Yeah.
That's great.
So
Then it
she
gets a quick
gets
rinse?
quick rinse, yeah, and then into the this collection table.
Accumulation table, yeah. So this all looks exciting and glamorous to this point, right? What you need to know is that a brewer's day never goes 100% smoothly.
This has always been that grassroots,
Yeah.
start from scratch,
Yeah.
bootstrapping it from day
Think
one.
on your feet,
Yep.
pivot.
Figure it out along the way.
Right.
And now some people come in here and they go, well, these guys are well funded. And I go, oh, I need
Yeah.
to take you through here and show you all.
how much pain it took me to get to where we're
Well,
at.
you know, back in the day, we used to label by hand.
Right.
So we got into an automated labeler before
Right.
we got into sleeving. Now that thing worked so damn fast that the machine would be spitting through cans, and we're trying to get this thing going, and the labeling machine,
yeah.
runs out of labels, and you go, okay, you see it coming, you're
Yeah.
getting ready to go. I gotta change to a new roll of labels,
Yeah.
but I don't want to slow down the canning machine.
Yeah.
I think I can do it.
Yeah.
Now, when I say go, you guys are gonna start pulling off the cans into flat so I can change
Yeah.
the label.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, ready, go. And so they've got these flats and they're pulling these blank cans
Yeah.
in. I'm trying to change the labels
Yeah.
and I'm trying to go and it won't work.
Yeah.
And these guys are blip, 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 blip,
cans
blip,
piling
cans
up.
piling up. And finally we're like, but it's too many cans. Where do we put them?
Yeah.
And it's literally just, it seems like it's something out of Laverne and Shirley,
Yeah.
you know, or it's just turning into this huge mess. Cans are falling over.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get the labels into the machine,
Yeah.
and it goes around this and through this and
Yeah.
under this,
You got to thread it all through.
and
Yeah.
you're so panicked you can't pull it off.
One could argue craft beer is more about culture than about the beer itself, and you can't build a culture unless there's a strong community at its core. There's an undeniable sense of community built in and around Toolshed. It's evident everywhere you look.
Because every moment of success that I've found so far in this adventure has been local collaboration, bringing the community around me to get to the next level. Because I love hosting.
Yeah.
I love service. I love nothing more than when people come over to the place and you want to just share good times and good stories with
And
good
beer is
people.
that.
Yeah, over good barbecue or over good beer. I think I recognized pretty early on homebrewing that this is, you know, if you're trying to bring good people together
Yeah.
and share good times and good stories, beer is the greatest catalyst of all time for that.
Hey, thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, please go ahead and subscribe and send us a cheers, mate, by tapping that like button and subscribing to our channel. We've got a great merch store to check out, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook for behind-the-scenes action of our show and to discover more about life as a brewer during the craft beer boom. And remember, the best beer is the one you're enjoying right now. Drink safe.